My name's Dr. Melanie Icard, and my profession is that I'm a naturopathic medical doctor, and I absolutely love it. It's the best job on the planet, and it doesn't really encompass everything, because I think that also I'm a healer. I love bringing people together, and creating community, and I feel like that's where the real healing happens.
Fantastic. And what inspired you to choose naturopathic medicine instead of conventional allopathic medicine?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I grew up a typical American kid. I ate Wendy's, like fast food, and ate candy, like smoked cigarettes in the parking lot, and like all of that. And my mother had died at a very young age of cancer. She was 33, and that's probably when the serious caretaking began, because she had a baby right 1 year before she died. So as the second oldest and the only daughter, I actually stayed home and took care of my mother and her baby. And so that's where like all that real caretaking happened, and she got to the point where she couldn't take care of us anymore. So me and my older brother that had a different father were actually shipped off to Mexico. And we actually loved it because it was like we're at the beach and, finding starfish and four-wheelers and all that stuff. And she ended up not making it, right? She didn't make it. So at 11, I lost my mother. And then it kind of began this survival, kind of chaotic childhood, right? And if you fast forward to when I got pregnant with my son, who's now 20, and, obviously I'm crazy about him, I stopped all the regular American girl stuff, and I said, well, wait a minute, like, I'd love this kid to be healthy, and I don't want him to lose his mother like I did as a kid, because that was kind of rough, and I always felt like I was on my own, and no one really loves you like your mom, And so I went to my father, who had always been kind of like a certified health nut, and we didn't know anything about it, but he would do 10-day juice fasts, and me and my older brother would be like, he's not gonna eat food for 10 days? Like, that's kind of weird. And if you've ever done anything like that, sometimes you're kind of crabby and cranky the first few days, so that kind of helped us think that he was crazy. And he was ranting and raving about all the dangers of NutraSweet and MSG. But I came back and I said, Dad, I'm really sorry I made fun of you like all the time, forever, but I really want you to teach me about being healthy, because I'm pregnant, and I want my son to like have his mom like his whole life, or most of his life. And my dad was actually working with a naturopathic doctor, and he said, let me introduce you to her. And she's an elder, and I would drive up and we'd have tea, and she would just explain things to me, very simply, so I could integrate them into my life. And my dad started sending me like organic boxes of vegetables with recipes, and I started taking all the chemicals and plastics and microwaves out of my life and stuff like that, like piece by piece as I was pregnant. And it was really funny, because whenever I would go up to see this doctor, I would drive by this building, and I would want to go in there, but I didn't know why. And one day I said, it's so funny, every time I come to see you, I drive by this building, and I always want to go in there. And she said, Melanie, that's the naturopathic medical school. And I was like, stop. And she said, yeah, you should go over there. You should go check it out. And she pulled it up, and they had a discovery day, and I called my dad, and we're like, let's go check it out. And me and my dad were like, high five, this is awesome. And then I just went right into it, right? And I had the family that was interested in it. They weren't like, oh, why aren't you going to be a real doctor? Because they were all kind of interested in that and trying to live that way. So that's kind of the story how I ended up getting into naturopathic medicine.
Fantastic. And what is it, when you began to study naturopathic medicine, what is it that most drew you to it? Like, was it, what were you taught as a naturopathic medical student that, regular medical students are not taught?
The thing that really caught me, and I had sort of dipped my toes into it in undergrad, was the mind-body medicine. Yeah, I like, how people would heal themselves with like laughter and Tai Chi, and I was really feeling that, and I went to school thinking I wanted to treat cancer, right? Because my mom had died of cancer. And so I made sure I got on that cancer shift, and everything, but I felt like there were these people are getting great treatments and everything, but I felt by interacting with the people that they weren't mentally and emotionally in a receptive place for healing. You know, I was like, something's missing here. So I moved along. I was like, okay, this isn't for me. I want to do something else. And randomly, on like the first week of school, there was an introduction to mind body medicine, and they were doing this fun exercise, and everyone had a partner except me. And so the teacher was like, I'll be your partner. And he was the chair of mind body medicine, and he ended up, we're still great friends to this day, like just taking me on and becoming my mentor. And I did all of his workshops, and I did all of his shifts with him, and just learned all of these wonderful skills that helped people shift out of the story, you know, that was running, and so they could really transform.
And what do they teach you about the root causes of disease? Because that's a completely different approach to healing than, you know, conventional medicine. What did you learn about root causes of disease?
So basically, you know, it's, for instance, if someone has, you know, diabetes, right? They might put them conventionally on metformin, or, you know, possibly they would need some mealtime insulin or some bedtime insulin, right? Where with naturopathic medicine, they would look at, well, what's causing this? And I was shocked to find out that you could actually even like reverse diabetes. You know, that I was like, woo, you know, like that's awesome. I didn't know you could reverse autoimmune diseases or diabetes, you know, so that was so incredible for me to know. And I think that's something that the public in general needs to know.
And I mean, how can you possibly reverse a disease like diabetes? I mean, because that's something that, like I say, we've never gotten that message. So, I mean, you go to your regular family doctor, they'll put you on this, and this, and med.
Right.
And nobody will tell you can reverse it. So, how can you possibly do that?
So I think the first thing is knowing that you can heal, right? That you can reverse disease, right? Because and that was my issue, like with the cancer shift, is that the people, they basically, the ones that I had met were like, you know, I'm gonna die, you know, and I'm like, and mentally, if you decide that, then you're already correct, right? So the first thing that people have to know is, yes, I can reverse my autoimmune disease. Yes, I can reverse my diabetes. And then you have to show up and you have to do the work. Your doctor's not going to do it for you. Like, they can show you the path, but like, we have to want to heal, and we have to show up and do the work. And that's going to be lots of little layers, right? You know, with diabetes, it's going to be a lot of diet stuff. Like, how do I get this blood sugar under control? Monitoring it, making appropriate changes, right? But then what came first too? Was it chronic stress? Was it trauma that led into chronic stress? Are we piling on toxins? Are we rubbing it in our armpit and calling it deodorant, you know, and washing our clothes in it? So all these little things. And then are we going outside? Are we getting sunshine? Are we putting our feet in the dirt? Or are we stuck inside all the time watching murder shows on TV? I don't know how good you're going to heal if you're doing that.
So when a patient comes to you and they have, you know, how do you go about diagnosing them if they have some very common, you know, conditions like their fatigue and bloating, chronic stress, like so many of the modern life
right.
symptoms, but you don't know what on earth is causing it because those symptoms are so common to so many diseases. How do you go about diagnosing what they have?
Well, I mean, I like to do labs, you know, I like to do a lot of labs, right? Because that'll give you kind of like, you almost know, but you want to get the labs to see it, and it helps the person to see it, but it's also a lot about listening. Because sometimes people will come in with this laundry list of things and surgeries and this and that, but then you hear about how they kept having all these miscarriages in a row, and they never even felt it, you know, and then it's just, sometimes it's just inviting them to share that and feel that, you know. Sometimes that's like one of the most important things for them to heal, right?
And let's talk about what some of the root causes are. I mean, our diet is probably one of the worst, and I'm guilty of it as much as, you know, same thing growing up with the fast food and the the sugar in that. So how do you, there are a lot of obese kids that have a lot of ADD, attention, mental
Right.
health issues. These things are skyrocketing. So
Yeah, so one of the things too that I think maybe is getting attention now is the frequency, the EMF, the radiation. And I even feel like people are kind of sicker than they were 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, you know, someone could show up and we would give them like 6 ozone IVs and like some love, and they, you know, get rid of their fibromyalgia. And it's not like that anymore. You know, it takes so much more work. And I see so much insomnia, and one of the number one symptoms of being sensitive to this EMF radiation, like, is insomnia, and especially the kids, because how many kids do you see on a tablet? It's almost every single kid, right? And us too, like, we're guilty of it too with the phone. I love it when I lose my phone. I don't even look for it for a few days. You know, I'm like, it's probably under the bed, but I'll check like on Thursday, you know? So that's one of the number one things that can be so good for the kids, and we can treat ourselves like a kid. You know, we can limit our own screen time. You know, we can all feel a lot better. Actually, I forgot like what the question was.
oh no, it's okay. So, I mean, some of these, with some of the childhood epidemics, like things like autism, do you
Yeah.
see a lot of kids with autism?
Yeah.
And, I mean, do you think vaccines are part of that, the huge vaccine?
I would. I know it's like a little of a taboo thing, but you know.
Can we do a bit of a, do you feel comfortable doing a deep dive into that? Or just sharing what you...
Yeah, I would say that, I was a young mom, and I feel like I got pushed into getting the first set of vaccines on my kid, and then after I was educated, you know, I pushed back on the vaccines, you know, but my son actually is autistic.
Okay.
My son is autistic, and it's a lot, and I feel like, you know, it's a lot of the same stuff that all the kids have, where it's like the gut, right? The neural inflammation, there's the stimulation from all the frequencies and all of that, right? So it's like, we've got to bring down the inflammation, we've got to heal the gut, we've got to support the liver, right? Like, the diet has to be on point. I feel like with my kid, he's so sensitive. Like if anything is off in like video games or things that he watches, or if he goes to his dad's house and they have like fast food, like, he falls off of like his thriving pattern. You know, it's a constant work. You know, it never ends to try to keep him thriving.
You deal with pandas?
Yeah.
Can you explain what this is?
Yeah, so that, I didn't know what that was, you know, 5 years ago either, and so it hit pretty close to home when my favorite little cousin got it. And so basically, the simple way to explain it is it's an autoimmune type condition that mostly the children are getting. Adults can get it too, and where, like in celiac, they would be attacking their gut, in PANS and pandas, they're attacking their brain, and the unfortunate effects of that can be up to full-blown psychosis, right? It'll typically, with the older kids, like my cousin was, you know, 14 or 15, all of a sudden he was super OCD, like had to turn the lights on and off and open and shut the doors before we could go to the beach or go to bed, you know, and I was like, oh, I don't remember him being like that before, you know. And with the littler ones, they'll just have regression in their behaviors, you know. And so what I've found is this is like a public education campaign, like, just to recognize that, and as soon as you recognize that, find a holistic naturopathic doctor, because what I found is if you can hit it right away, these kids respond amazingly to kind of basic naturopathic medicine. Yeah.
So can we talk about gut health and what that does to kids, and what contributes to really poor gut health in kids, and what diseases develop as a result?
Well, basically, like, standard American diet is gonna give your kid poor gut health. Please don't feed your kids school lunch. You know, please don't feed your kids processed food or fast food. You know, try to figure out how to feed them whole foods. You know, like fruit, vegetables, things that are alive. You know, water. Don't give them soda. Don't give them sugar. You know, if you can help it, like that would be the best thing for your kids. Like make a garden with your kids and enjoy eating the things coming out of your garden. At this point in time, I think everyone's well aware of like the gut brain connection, the gut mood connection. It's everything, right? And everyone's guts are kind of messed up in general, right? Like even people that are trying, you know, some people are trying really hard and they've still got a lot of gut problems. But basically, what I've come to realize in the last few years is that it goes leaky gut, which maybe we've all heard of by this point in time, but then it kind of goes to leaky brain, you know? So it's like leaky gut and then leaky brain, and then we get kind of like, you know, we're real friable, like kind of mood stuff, even in the adults. This isn't just in pans, like just in like, you know, chronic stress, chronic like low level disease, leaky gut, leaky brain, and then everyone's got like crippling anxiety and stuff like that.
And other than better food choices, are there other you know, supplements, other kinds of treatments that can help kids with a leaky gut?
Yeah, so this is a little in limbo right now, but we'll see what happens. But there's a peptide that's absolutely fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic for multiple reasons. One is it heals the entire GI tract from esophagus to rectum, right? Which is like what everyone needs, especially, you know, sick kids, right? And it bypasses the blood-brain barrier and is anti-inflammatory for the brain. So you're seeing how this could be really good for people with leaky gut and leaky brain. Now, right now, the deal is that the FDA is like making that not available, but this happens sometimes. So I'm sitting back and seeing, you know, what's going to happen, you know, with the environment, because it was just one of those beautiful peptides that you just wanted everyone to do once a year, you know. So I still believe it's going to come back. You know, obviously a good probiotic, you know. I love these new probiotics that have a bunch of baby probiotics in it, and so whatever you need is what grows and what thrives. I see that makes like really positive changes really fast in people. And also it's kind of finding out your food sensitivities, your food intolerances, and taking that out so that this gut can have an opportunity to heal.
That's great. And what about nutritional deficiencies? I mean, because everything is so, you know, there's GMO, there's the pesticides, the soil is really depleted, the food is so processed. So can you tell us what some of the major nutrient deficiencies are and how you can kind of treat that?
Yeah, the main one that I usually put everyone in that walks in the door is magnesium. Magnesium is one of the number one nutrient deficiencies, and then it relaxes us. It helps us go to the bathroom better. It's a cofactor in like every biochemical process in your body pretty much. So that's a great one to put people on. I always like to check iodine too. You know, I'm thinking more, you know, in the adults there, because we have so much like low thyroid function in the adults. So I always like to check that, because that can be a real easy fix, right? And what I'm getting more into these days, even though it's a little bit pricier, is doing the genetic swaps and just seeing like genetically, well, I need to be taking glutathione, you know, just from like what I was born with, right? Or I need to be taking B12 because of what I was born with. And even you can find on some of these tests, like for instance, like I do ketamine therapy, right? But they're now they on these tests they can say this person would respond positively to ketamine therapy, and this person would probably not respond positively to ketamine therapy. So I think that is feeling like the new route to go to, because it really gives you a solid roadmap of like how to drive your vehicle.
And what is the name of it? Is there a certain specific name to this kind of genetic testing? If somebody is it something a family doctor would do, or do you have to go to a naturopath, and what do you ask for specifically?
So I don't think a family doctor would do it. There's a few labs out there. The one that we like is called Fagron. I've also had patients kind of go on their own, because it could be more budget friendly. You can just do the 23andMe, right? And then you can upload it to a third party site like NutriHacker, right? And then that can tell you like, hey, you know, you should be on liver support, and you should be on this and that, and it'll really make sense when you do it. These just other ones will be like more in depth, and they'll have you instructions on what to do.
And what about detoxing? I mean, that's such...
Everyone needs a detox.
And you know what? That word is everywhere, but there's kind of...
It's confusing.
Because there's all these, you know, detox in a box things.
I love that people want to detox now. Like, I mean, because it was like 10 years ago, everyone was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? You know, so now that there are all these weird detoxes out there, even like all over TikTok, you know, I don't know about the quality of them, but I'm super happy that the population at large is realizing that they should detox, because we all need to detox. You know, even me, I'm a pretty healthy lady. You know, I'm a naturopathic doctor for 10 years, but I detox regularly, quarterly, you know, and I recommend everyone should do that at least quarterly. We've played around with it over the years. You know, I have a kit that I do like from Biotics, and then we put together our own herbal detox that my husband actually is an herbalist from South America, so he'd been working with that system down there for years. We started using it up here, and it's easy because the people are not exhausted, they have energy, they lose inflammation, you know, it cleans everything, and so it's doable and it's functional. So and it's even a month long, but the people don't mind doing it because they feel great doing it, right? And then they can come back and do it quarterly, because we're humans, we're not perfect, you know, we can't consistently be awesome, you know. So, and even if we are really good, we're still accumulating things, and it's good. Like, you know, if I clean my house really good, it doesn't mean I'll never have to clean it again, you know, because it gets dusty and like bugs come in and stuff like that, you know. And what I like too, it's an old school one, but people have to be working with me and have done the detox. I wouldn't have anyone like off the street do it, but I love where there's the liver cleanse where you drink the Epsom salt water, not delicious, and then you drink the olive oil, and then you go to bed with your knees up and you sleep on your right side, and then that helps clean out the liver and the gallbladder, and like stones will come out, and that can really clean out the liver. But that's not something for anyone, you know, just like with the standard American diet to try like right off the bat.
So what specifically do you do for your detox? And I guess, you know, because not all detoxes are effective, especially something you, like you say, TikTok, or what's the right way to do it instead of just buying a few supplements and what's the right way?
Well, I mean, like, I love the combination that we have, right? And it's 4 herbs, you know. So we use a combination of green tea, moringa, senna, and cat's claw. And I love the cat's claw. The cat's claw is super anti-inflammatory, like super amazing for everyone. But also then it's there's certain things that we recommend that people not eat, right? And a big one too, like I have it at the top of my list for my handouts because I forget that people do this, is vaping, drinking energy drinks, you know, and alcohol. Like those are all like really inflammatory, really gonna mess up your system. And then there's the basics, right? Like I don't want my patients eating pork. Pork's a very inflammatory meat. Eating peanuts, very inflammatory. And then just the things that seem to inflame everybody, you know, like cow dairy, gluten, you know, sugar, deep fried foods. You want to take all of those out so that you get the best work out of your detox too.
Okay, great. And what about what are some of the biggest challenges people get to detox? I know it's hard to make lifestyle changes, but sometimes people suffer Herxheimer reactions to them. So is there anything that people can do to avoid that or to kind of work their way? So what is the correct way to do the detox? Is there a way to avoid the Herxheimer reaction, or to, if you do have it, how do you work with it to get past it?
Right. Well, the number one thing that's so important is just drink water. Like, drink water, be hydrated, because that's going to keep everything moving, right? And you can always, you know, check in, like, hopefully, maybe you're working with someone, you know, and they can help you. Maybe you're going to back down on certain things or increase on certain things. And one of my favorite things that I do with some of our IVs do that, you know, to people, is I just give them a couple charcoal capsules too, because that kind of helps absorb some of the toxins and lessens it down. And what's really important when you're having a die-off detox reaction is just to rest, because, you know, what's it like when we get sick, we want to lay in bed and we want to rest and drink water and not eat a lot of food, and that's kind of how we heal.
And you mentioned charcoal as a good chelator. Can you share maybe a few other chelators to sort of pull all those toxins? Are there ones that are good for parasites?
Oh, you know what I've been using that I'm crazy about? And it's funny because it's from one of those companies, but it's so good. It's called Root Clean Slate.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you start, you just take one drop. Just one drop. Don't take more than that for a few months. And patients always take more, but then they start having really bad, detox reactions. But that takes out the heavy metals, the parasites, and the mold. So I love that one. Look it up.
Zeolite?
Yeah, it's zeolites. It's that's it. I'm like, what is that term?
Dr. Google.
Did you hear it before?
I've heard it, but I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and I think everyone should take that. Yeah.
And is it? Can you tell us how zeolite works? Like, what is it about it that is so good for a detox?
It just pulls metals out. It just pulls metals out. And parasites and mold. So which is like kind of the hidden factors that are helping everyone be sick.
Do you see patients who have cancer?
I do.
And when they come to you, how do you begin treatment? Like, where do you begin?
Well, I mean, first we have to begin with where they're at, and what they want to do. And, I really don't advertise treating cancer. So usually it would be like an established patient that I haven't seen in a while, or like a family member of an established patient. But what we really look for is like someone that is determined to get better. That's a great patient, right? And someone who, if they have a family, their family is supportive and determined that they're going to get better, right? And then they're open to holistic medicine and the protocols and the diets and all the things. And the thing that I recently added in that I would love all the chronically ill people to do is I have had them do like ceremonial ketamine sessions, right? So then they can kind of go deep and pull out those emotional roots that have gotten stuck in there,
Let's talk a little bit about mind-body medicine. I mean, so kind of conventional medicine is basically you have a specialist for every body part.
Yeah.
So what is it about holistic medicine that recognizes the deep connection between the mind and the body?
Yeah, so basically you have to treat all the bodies if you really want to get better, right? For instance, like you can have someone that's like an athlete and they're so fit, right? And they eat so good. But maybe like mentally they're really quite fragile, or emotionally, and so and I find that a lot too. Like I have psychic friends that are so spiritual and amazing, and they're like drinking a beer and having a hamburger, like the whole thing. So you can get it on all aspects. But I realized a long time ago that if we really want people to heal, we have to help them like mentally and emotionally, and I actually said to myself like 10 years ago, like we need to give them psychedelics, that will really help people heal. But then I thought, well, I don't want to go to jail or lose my license, so how are we going to do that, And I love how there's this whole kind of like psychedelic renaissance going on right now, because now people are seeing that they do need to heal at a deeper level, right? And that the old ways just aren't working, right? And so, and even like some legislation is opening up and allowing some practitioners to help people in this way, right? Or you're seeing more people maybe go on retreats to do ayahuasca and things like that. And I think that's wonderful, right? Because the mind-body medicine is great. I love it. It can help people let go of their story. It can help them stop and recognize their emotions so they can feel them, right? I have a teacher that says you have to feel it to heal it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely true.
You got to feel it to heal it. And the old way was we should just shove it under the rug and then wonder why we weren't happy and our body was falling apart. You know? So I'm super thrilled about like what's going on right now.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the other protocols? I mean, do you do red light therapy? Do you do hot heat therapy, cold therapy? Oh gosh, oh, I'm blanking now, but
I'm a big ozone girl. So I do a lot of ozone therapies, and we have an ozone sauna and we have a cold shower.
Okay.
And that's really great for a systemic treatment, for a skin treatment, for body aches, for like bone pain, you know. I definitely love it for anything skin, and it seems to just be good for people too, just because of the just sitting there in like a quiet, you know, peaceful room for 15 or 20 minutes too, you know, and then you get that hot and that cold therapy. And the newest thing that I am loving for absolutely everyone, because, and I'm seeing this a lot on Instagram and stuff too, so I'm glad that there's awareness, is that we all need to reset our nervous system, right? Like everyone's a little bit fried. Everyone's a little stuck in like survival mode. And there's a lot of stress. So we started doing this vibrational sound therapy combined with PEMF, pulse electronic magnetic frequency. So it's healing frequencies of sound, healing vibrations, and healing frequencies of PEMF. And this seems to reset people in 20 minutes, you know. We're starting to take before and after pictures because people look younger, they look happier, like it just allows you to relax. It's like a meditation on steroids. Who needs a nervous system reset? Like just about everybody all the time. Like I need it daily, you know. Like, and it's so cute because like we all know that we should be meditating at least once a day, probably twice. Are we doing it? Probably most people aren't. I don't know. I mean, if we are doing it, is it working that good? I don't know. But like this therapy is efficient, and that's kind of what I found. Like I like holistic, natural medicines that are efficient. You know, safe and efficient. And I don't want to guess if it's working or like twiddle my thumbs for 6 months. Like I want to see the people feeling better. You know, I want to see the results. And so that's one of those therapies that like does that, you know.
What is PEMF? Because that term, I mean, I see the P and then there's EMF, and I know EMF is not a good thing.
Right.
So what is it about PEMF? First of all, what does it stand for? What does it mean, and how does it work?
Yeah, so basically, it's pulsed electronic magnetic frequency, right? And it's the healing frequency, right? Because I'm energy, your energy, the couch is energy, and so certain things have more of a healing vibration, like even like the frequencies of music, right? You know, you'll see a lot of those healing frequency music things on YouTube these days. I love that too. So it's like, but there's a lot of negative frequencies like the cell phones and the 5G, and you know, even the baby monitors are supposed to have the most EMF. So like, please don't put that by your baby. So that, fun facts that we didn't know. Right? So basically, we as electrical beings are kind of getting shut down by these negative frequencies, and the one that we use tends to like clear that out, right? It kind of clears that out so that your good energy can flow. And this one is amazing because it works immediately and it has different settings. So I mainly use a few of them because one is for like mental relax. A lot of people need that, you know, especially when you're trying to get them to relax. Then there's deep relax, even better, right? And then there's inflammation. Those are the main ones that I use because usually I want people to relax and to not feel pain or inflammation, right? There's other ones, like there's one for energy, but typically I want people to relax. But it does work. Like I folded it up and put it on a girl that was kind of passing out, and she sprung right up, you know? So like these frequencies really work. And I think that's kind of a missing thing in medicine in general that we'll start seeing more and more because there's more frequencies affecting us.
That's what you brought with this?
Yeah, it's a combination of those things together, right? So it's like, and you lay on the bed, you listen to, you know, one of hundreds of healing frequency sounds, and the frequency mat is going, and then the vibrations go in different patterns and intensities, right? And it's like a meditation on steroids. Some people, they go to another dimension, you know, but at the same time, these vibrations are shaking all that negative stored emotions, stories, things that happen to me out of ourselves, right? Like, remember the water with Dr. Emoto, and he was telling the water, I love you. And then it looked beautiful, like a snowflake, and the other water, I hate you. And so it's like, so we're water. So if we put in like good vibrations and we shake, like, we can heal that way